I'm James Turk. I'm a director of the Gold Money Foundation. And I'm here today with Peter Spina, who's the founder of one of the world's most popular gold sites, and one that I often visit, goldseek.com. Peter, it's a pleasure to speak with you. You started goldseek.com how many years ago?
Just over 16 years ago.
So, long before the internet was considered popular, you were one of the early pioneers.
Correct. The internet was just evolving. It was more of an idea and a concept more than a tool to be used. And since 1995, the site has developed into one of the most visited precious metals websites on the web. So it has seen an incredible evolution, and it's been a very big factor, I believe, in getting the information about the gold and silver markets, getting that information out there to the public.
Did you have a technology background? Is that how you got into this, or was your background more in the gold and silver?
Correct. It's a combination. Background is information, technology, computer science, but also had an interest in investing in the gold and silver markets, so I was able to combine those two.
You saw the potential of the internet, in other words, and therefore staked your claim with the establishing goldseek.com.
Right. It started off as a hobby, interested in gold and silver, which developed into what it is today.
And when did silverseek.com start? That was a few years afterward?
Well, it was spun off from GoldSeek to focus more on the silver markets, and that was about 2002, 2003.
Yeah. How has the internet changed? Given the fact that you're one of the pioneers, how have you seen it change and evolve over that period of time, with particular regard to the gold industry?
I believe it's been a major source of getting the information out there, especially being here at the GATA conference. I was introduced to GATA well over a decade ago, and it was a very important aspect of the gold markets in the regard of getting the information and transparency about the gold market dealings out there. So creating more of a transparency in gold market dealings. We found there's a lot of issues that were not being covered by the mainstream media, and that that information needed to get out there. So the web was an excellent avenue to get that information out there. Mm-hmm. And since the last 10 to 15 years, the amount of individuals accessing the web, gold and silver investors, has increased dramatically. So what we have seen is, the new technologies allow for the information to be more quickly dispersed to individuals, connect them with that, and to get a lot of different opinions out there for them to make an informed decision. So that's it's definitely something that's changing very quickly. The new technologies that are being introduced are changing the whole way that we communicate, and definitely a big influence on the gold and silver.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said getting information out there so people can make an informed decision. Mm-hmm. It's all part of the educational process, but people take the educational responsibility on their own shoulders. They'll read the information and then make their own decisions, which I think is the way it should be. That's how the market operates. People can pick and choose which pieces of information they want to rely upon, and then take the appropriate portfolio steps for their own portfolio based on that information. So you basically see that as a key element of goldseek.com.
Absolutely. It's one of the resources out there available to gold and silver investors. We do encourage anyone, whether investing in the gold markets or the mining companies, to do their own research, but we're there to provide information, a different source of information, and a variety of opinions on it. But it is, in the end, the responsibility of the investor to make sure they understand what they're getting involved with, and they do their own research, and it's very easy these days with all the information available out on the web to do that, and it's quickly evolving, and constantly more and more information is making its way out to the public.
Is the interest that you're seeing at GoldSeek and SilverSeek, is that more and more becoming global, or is it still a North American focus?
It is expanding its reach. We find our audience is primarily North American, like as you stated, U.S. and Canadian based. We have seen an increase in European interest recently with issues coming on here, but it's still relatively a tiny audience, even in the States, compared to other markets, and it is increasing quite dramatically over the last years, but in relation to the size of other markets, it's still pretty small, and the global audience seems to be coming onto that onto the site more and more
The
recently.
rising gold price obviously is attracting attention not only in North America but the rest of the world as well.
Right, record gold prices are a great market. It's a great marketing piece for the gold industry to get attention and get people to start questioning what's going on.
Yeah.
We find the mainstream media starting to open up to more of the opinions that have been published on this site for the last decade plus. But still, in the end, I feel like the website caters to has a pretty exclusive content in that we're discussing issues that the mainstream media does not really want to put attention or focus on.
Yeah. Let's turn to the markets a little bit, because I know you're an avid follower of both the gold bullion as well as the mining shares. Let's start on the bullion side. How do you see things at the moment? Based on hits, for example, at your site, do you think this is a bubble, or is this gold still very underowned?
Well, we definitely see a correlation between the price and the traffic, and it's been these series of waves higher. Currently, we seem to have hit a bottom in July, and interest has been peaking the last couple weeks, which is a bit of a precursor to a rising price. Our long-term traffic growth has been incredible. Interest continues to grow. More new investors continue to flock into the sector, and they come on the web looking for more information, so we're there to provide that for them. Longer term, I'm a solid believer that gold and silver returning back as money on a global currency system, new global currency system.
Yeah.
And the individual retail investors are really starting to come into the market now, Americans, Canadians, all over the world. I'm a strong believer that there's a very limited amount of physical supply out there, and that will be reflected by the price soon enough.
Meaning a much higher price.
Much higher price.
So much paper out there relative to the amount of physical.
Correct.
But based on the trends that you see on your site, are more people interested in bullion or more people interested in the mining shares? Is it able to pick that out? Or?
Yeah, we did a survey about 3-4 months ago, and the majority prefers bullion over mining stocks. A lot of them do invest in mining companies, but a lot of them do not want to take that additional risk on, which is, if you look at the past performance of mining companies, many of them have not performed as well as the silver price has or as the gold price has. So why take on that additional risk if you're not achieving that a greater return?
Yeah.
So it's a very intensive process of selecting the right companies, especially in the smaller, the junior exploration side of the industry.
Which is even a higher level of risk than the seniors, of course.
Correct. Yes, and it's been through a lot of difficult periods. It's a very capital-intensive business, and it's run by a lot of individuals who have an incredible technical know-how, geology, engineering, and so on. But understanding of public markets and understanding how to manage that capital properly, it's very difficult to find that right combination. Yeah. But when you do find the right combination, there are some incredible opportunities and incredible risk-reward opportunities, especially right now. We've seen these mining companies pull back quite a bit over the last months and even the last couple of years relative to the metal prices. The valuations and the mining companies have not kept up with appreciation in the metal prices. And this is, if you look back 2, 3, 4 years ago where we were at, and the mining company valuations where they are now, they're trading as if gold was maybe around $800,000-$900,000 an ounce. And the exploration companies, many of them are trading for a couple dollars, $5, $10, $15, $20 an ounce for most of these are mineable reserves. So I feel there's an incredible opportunity with exploration companies, especially with the senior producers running out of resources and reserves. And at some point, whether that's later this year, next year, a couple of years from now, I believe there's going to be a big revaluation rush into the exploration and junior companies.
Yeah. What about on the senior side? They've been generating pretty good cash flow earnings because the gold price is finally rising at a rate that's higher than the input costs. So their margins are opening up. We've had a couple companies declaring dividend increases. Newmont just announced a big dividend increase again. Do you have any thoughts on the majors?
I think they're in that position where they are producing a lot of new cash flow, but their problem is replenishing the reserves. And this gives a tremendous opportunity to the juniors to receive capital and have investments from these majors, and we're seeing more and more of that. To me, there are some better senior producers and other gold and silver companies. There are better ones to select from, but there are the risk reward is just not attractive to me. I think you have to be very selective and go after the right companies, the ones that do pay dividends and return some of that profit back to their shareholders in forms of dividends. I think that's very important, and ensuring that they have enough mineable reserves. And to me, I think if you want to see growth in the industry, you go after the mid-tier, the growth stocks. And I personally am not a really big fan of the senior producers. Although the gold corps of the world, some of the low-cost producers are attractive.
And because of the dividend yield more so than perhaps the stock price appreciation?
Their margins they're producing more profit, and some of them, like Goldcorp, their location of their mines are in better locations in the world than some of the other major producers.
Yeah, political risk is always an issue when it comes to mining shares.
Which is increasing as we're seeing more nationalization and potential confiscation issues. Then you also see some of the senior producers venturing into areas of the world which they wouldn't have even considered years ago. But because of the deposits being depleted and the higher record gold silver prices, they're going to areas that once were not deemed worth the risk.
As well as properties that perhaps weren't considered productive, but at a higher gold price, maybe the resource is actually economic?
That's correct, right? They have mined through so many of their high-grade deposits, especially at the bottom of the gold market, to survive.
During the tough years.
Correct.
Yeah. Just looking to the future, anything changes or plans for GoldSeek or SilverSeek.com?
We are looking to relaunch the site next year with a whole new platform and incorporate a lot of new technologies which have been developed over the last couple of years. So we're looking to continue to upgrade and keep up with the latest technologies so we can continue to connect investors with the latest information as much in a real-time basis as possible.
And following the major objective, which is to get information out there so people can make an informed decision.
Correct.
Well, Peter, it's been a real pleasure. I look forward to the upgrade next year on your site. Will that be on both GoldSeek and SilverSeek?
Correct.
Okay, great. Peter Spina of GoldSeek.com.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, Peter.